So let's go over the personal injury marketing management director and the satellite office situation. And essentially what it is I put together, it's how to build a personal injury part of your practice, $1 million or more, and receive a percentage of all the personal injury attorney referrals in your county. So I'm going to go over exactly how that works. And so because I have a big variance of people who are going to watch this, some people don't know me very well, some people, so I've got clients watching this that have already increased their business $1 million a year with my program. So, and they understand a lot more about how everything works. So there's a wide spectrum of awareness. But again, I'm Dr. Paul. I've authored 10 books now. I was a speaker in 3 chiropractic college. I've never lost a case in court, one of my patients' case when I practice, using the system that I teach now. I'm the only chiropractor to beat the United States Department of Justice by trial. I've opened 77 offices in 20 states. My testimony resulted in the largest county verdict. I've donated over $500,000 to the chiropractic profession, and we do continuing education instruction for mainly chiropractors and attorneys, some doctors, some pain management doctors, basically the people involved with personal injury. So having said that, how did this all, let me just go into how all this came about. So how did it all came about? Basically, it's from me selling too many personal injury attorneys for the referrals without having the doctor locations needed to support the referrals. Let me share with you what happened, and it happened many times. When I would go out and do presentations live in the hotel rooms and for different doctors, and we'd have 10, 20, 30, 50 people in a hotel room, and we would do my educational sales presentation, which is phenomenal. And I'll go into a little bit about why it works so well. But back to the story is every time we finished the sales presentation, and again, these were attorneys I'd never known. That was the first night me meeting them. There's 2 things that always happen when I finish. Number one is they wanted to know if we had an office where they had clients. That was unanimous. The second one is they wanted to know what could they do, because what I just covered is I just showed them how they were basically screwed with the documentation that they had with their existing providers. And so they'd have cases that already went through their providers, but they had not gotten the settlement yet. And they always wanted to know, well, what could we do? Because I now see after your presentation how much is missing and how I'm going to be stuck with a lowball offer because of my doctor's bad documentation. Well, that's what happens. So now the doctors that we had in the field did well, with these presentations. They got a lot of referrals and they got going. And but there was, I look back and I go, well, wait a minute, we could have done, and typically, and I'll just share with you what we did in the past, and we still do now, is when one of my doctors does well like that, then we ask the attorneys, we go, well, what other areas of the of the county do you have, a decent amount of clients that are too far to come to our office? And whenever 2 or 3 attorneys point to one particular area, we open an office there, and it's immediate success because we already have the referrals. But the problem with that is it's too slow. There's several problems with that. Number one is it's hard to find a chiropractor that's willing to go to that area because most chiropractors want to practice where they're from. So that was a problem. And then the second problem is just a little bit of it took a little bit more money to get it up and going, although it didn't take much money because we already had the business, to break even and go into profit from the referrals of our existing attorneys that we've already sold or doing business with. So having said that, I look back, I go, wait a minute, and so we left a lot of money on the table. A tremendous amount of money was left in referrals. In other words, attorneys I sold with my educational sales presentation. But we left millions of dollars on the table. Why? Just because we did not have an office in that location to deliver what I had just told them we deliver. That's how this came about. So we're going to go through a lot of the topics of how we put this together, and they'll be massaged and modified and changed and adapted depending on the circumstances. But here's the big picture and the details of how it all works. So that's how it came about. And so how to number two there, it says how to build $1 million personal injury practice. Well, you can become a 911 car injury doctor direct. Now, what is that? Well, what I did is I've created a brand for my documentation and marketing system. It's called 911 Car Injury Doctors. The website's up, but it's not clean. It's not finished. Matter of fact, I shouldn't have even turned it on yet because it's not finished. So it doesn't look like it's going to look. But anyway, it's the point is it's a system. Now that word is real important. Those words were picked specifically. 911, everybody knows what 911 means. And it's already branded, and car injury doctors is self-explanatory. Now, this is going to be used for attorneys and patients, not just attorneys. And I'll go into how the marketing works on both ends of that, okay? But back to what happens is first you become a 911 car injury doctor. And then what we do is it's a system. It's a marketing system. Okay. So let's go into some of these categories here. So what is a 911 car injury doctor? 911 car injury doctors uses my documentation system. They use my narrative report system. They use my trial testimony system to support car injury patients and their personal injury attorney. Now, that is unbelievably important, what I just said. And in other words, it has to be a system, no different than McDonald's, Taco Bell. You can't, there's got to be an exact, the reason why is that's what's being sold. They're buying the system. That's what they're buying. And so if I have doctors that are not using that system, it won't work for them. As a matter of fact, if they don't use it, if they're not willing to use it, they can't join. And if they don't use it, they get kicked out because they're going to destroy the relationship of the other 911 car injury doctors in that county. That's very important. But I have an excellent documentation system. It's absolutely phenomenal, start to finish. Narrative report is phenomenal. And how to give depositions, trial testimonies is phenomenal. Of course, that's what we teach in our chiropractic personal injury marketing. So now so we have a checklist. So we teach the doctors how to do it, and we have a checklist. So all you have to do is follow the checklist. So it's pretty easy, to be honest with you. And it will be, and I guarantee it will be better than anything you're doing. So what is a 911 car injury doctor county director? So I'm calling them a director. Now, it's important that we talk about the county, first of all, because attorneys work in a county. If you switch counties, you essentially have to sell a different group of attorneys. So you just doubled your work. So if you stay within the county you're in, and we get more offices within that county that are non-competitive, what does non-competitive mean? Well, patients will only travel so far. Now, I realize a lot of chiropractors have a lot of insecurities with, the distances and protecting their area, and they think it's way, way bigger than what it is. But a lot of these other cities in the county, those patients won't come to your office, even on referral, because it's too far. So we're losing the potential of business in that city. And most cities have several counties. I remember I was in a rural area, and there were three cities within this rural county that I was in. Most counties will have more than three, but that's just to give you an idea. So I had offices in those three cities. They were non-competitive. I wasn't going to get business 10 miles away with 3 psychographic barriers. Okay. So anyway, let's get back to county director. So The county director uses our documentation system. They're in the county, so they're the main player in the county. In other words, they're the director. And then what we want to do is have affiliate offices. In other words, chiropractic offices that are already up and going in these other cities. That way we don't have to spend time, labor, energy, and all that thing. And yet we can still create revenue and authority. As a matter of fact, you'll get a lot more business when you come into an attorney and you say, oh, we have, you know, I'm the 911 cardiac doctor of this county, and we have 7 offices in all 7 towns in this county. Well, immediately you're an authority player just like that. So it helps significantly. And there's a lot of other benefits we'll go into. But what is the Count 11 county doctors? So they're the main player for that county. And they help with administrative functions to support my marketing and increase the number of offices in their county to process personal injury patients and attorney referrals. So there's several benefits. The biggest benefit is you become the main player for that county in personal injury, but you help me with administrative functions. In other words, what other cities, what other chiropractors do we want to target and get them involved? So you just kind of help me from an administrative role to involve all these other chiropractors offices within your county. And the benefit to you, there, several benefits. The obvious benefit is you're going to be the big player for your county, but the other benefit is you get a percentage of each of those offices for the referrals. And I'll go into that a little bit more here. So number 5 says, what are the benefits of becoming a 911 cardiac county director? Well, you become the lead doctor in your county for personal injury attorney referrals. You'll maximize your personal injury attorney referrals. Anytime you're the lead and the voice for that county, you're always going to be, sought after more than the affiliate, so to speak. So they'll try to get the business to you, but obviously, if the business is in different cities, it's those local affiliate offices that'll get the business. So you receive a percentage of the collections from the attorney referrals sent to the other offices in the county. And you have the ability to open additional personal injury office resulting from the attorney referrals. So there's still the opportunity after you build your office and you go, let's say there's 4 or 5 attorneys that we've sold, and they go, oh, we have a lot of clients over in this area. Well, then you go and open an office in that area. So you don't have to have an affiliate chiropractor who's already there. You can just go open an office instead of getting the affiliate chiropractor. Okay, so it's a way to not to get going immediately, to build the network, build referrals, build the business immediately, and not wait around to try to hire somebody, manage them and finance them and train them and all. That takes a lot more time, effort, and energy. But I would definitely do it if you had 2 or 3 attorneys saying, yeah, we have, 3, 4, or 5 referrals in this one city. Well, to be honest with you, I'm going to bypass the affiliate office, and instead of getting an affiliate for that city, I just assume open a personal injury office on my own. But like I told you, the problem is not getting the business. We do not have problems getting referrals and getting business at all. And we've proved that over and over with this presentation. The problem we have is getting doctors to go to areas that they're not from. Again, most doctors want to go to their areas where they're from, all that kind of stuff. So it is very difficult to get doctors to go to some of these cities. I'm just sharing that with you. So let's see where we're at here. The video. Okay, so we're good there. Let's kind of move through and see the next. So why county? Why not more? Well, you'll start with your county, but the marketing has to be within the county, because what I said is everything happens at the county hub. That's why the attorneys are always located down at the county hub, because they're always going in and out of over to the courthouse. That's why attorneys are always in the county hub. But that's not where the patients are. Patients are everywhere. And the draw of attorney is very different than a chiropractor. Patients that go to chiropractor go 3 times a week. Well, you only need to go to the attorney once, and now you can do it on Zoom. So there's a much wider area than an attorney. An attorney can easily market a county where a chiropractor can't with one office. So you want to own your county, because when we sell these attorneys, they're overwhelmingly coming from your county and your county courthouse, which means they're going to have additional business in other areas of your county because that's where they do business. Okay, so can you be a director in more than one county? Yeah, if you wanted to take that responsibility in another, like a neighboring county, that's like a good situation. Is if you're kind of outside of a major city and you not only were the director in your county, but the neighboring county outside of a major city. That would be a very ideal situation. But remember, every time you switch counties, you got to sell a different group of attorneys. Not as much. Well, let me leave it like that. Let me just I remember one chiropractor. He had his personal injury office and he opened another office in a totally separate county, a chiropractic office. I said, "What are you doing? You just now doubled the amount of work that you have to do." He should have just opened a second office in the next major city where there's clients from his existing referrals. So he doubled the amount of marketing and the number of attorneys he had to sell just because he didn't know that. So let's go in here. How can you be a county director? We got that. Number 11 is the county director is the go-to person at the county to help support the system. So we talked about that already, that you're the authority for that county. So how did the 911 Cardio Doctors County Director and Network come about? Well, we already told you about that. Is when we sold, we already have a lot of clients in my chiropractic personal injury marketing and documentation. And when we'd sell these attorneys, there was always, I cannot tell you, it was just crazy when I finished a presentation. If you've ever seen it, and a lot of doctors on this or watching this have seen it personally, how the attorneys just totally switch over and now absolutely need our services. And it all has to do with educational sales. And I explain that separately if you're not familiar with my system. Why only educational sales works and advertising and publicity does not. By the way, this has to be educational sales because of that. And I explain that later. But that's also why it works really, really well. We understand that. So that's number 12. Number 13, my personal injury attorney created. Okay, number 13, the tools that allow this to happen. So live streaming over the internet. One of the good things that's happened with COVID is the comfort level of just everybody with, going on Zoom and live streaming and all that. So the live streaming market has skyrocketed because of that, because of the comfort level with everybody, even patients, even attorneys. I have one attorney, he didn't take any patients at all. All of his clients went on Zoom, even the new clients. Nobody came into his office. So the familiarity is phenomenal. And then also the automated follow-up videos with email correspondence, email autoresponders. These three tools have totally changed marketing. Number one, live streaming has totally changed the leverage potential of live streaming. Like when I was doing a presentation live in a hotel, it was only for those attorneys, 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever. Now you can do live streaming for all the attorneys in your county, or like what I'm setting up. I'm going to be doing live streaming for the nation. So the leverage potential is phenomenal. And live is unbelievably important. To be able to do it live and to interact live, to answer questions and things like that. That tool alone is what is allowing this to happen. And the next one is automated videos. We do record videos and we use them in an automated system also. And then the other tool is the email autoresponder, which is unbelievably important. One of the most important parts of marketing is follow-up. Follow-up. You will increase your business over 50% with follow-up. So what makes follow-up easy? Email autoresponders. And what makes it very valuable is video. And why is that important? Because 55% of how we communicate is visual. So between live streaming, video, and email autoresponders, it's created a whole venue of business that did not exist before and cost a lot less, and you can create a lot more business. So what are some of the responsibilities? Number 14, what are some of the responsibilities of the county personal injury director? Well, it's help the network with administrative functions. Now, when I say network, I'm talking about 9/11 car injury doctors. In other words, it's to help me, 9/11 car injury doctors, help me do two things. Sell other chiropractors in your county to be affiliates that you get a percentage of. Or even if you want to open an office, we help you open an office on your own. Or, and help organize the marketing for the attorneys, the personal injury attorneys. Now, you won't be doing any of the marketing. I do all the marketing, and it'll be multiple. I'll go into all the different marketing that we do here in just a second. But it helps somebody in that county help organize it. What attorneys are we targeting? Get their phone numbers, their emails. We'll do a little bit of direct mail also to create awareness. Also, well, when I'll cover more of this when I go to the marketing. But that's essentially what the administrator function is. And of course, if you're the main player, you're the one that's going to get, have high name recognition with the attorneys and the majority of the business. So what are the costs for being a county personal injury director? Well, the cost is $397 monthly, minimum 18-month agreement. In other words, if you're an existing client of mine, in other words, I teach chiropractic personal injury documentation and marketing, and that's what I charge. I charge $397 a month. Now, the good news is there's no percentage of referrals to your office. Now, there is a percentage we take from the satellite offices, but there is no percentage for you. It's just a flat fee, and that's it. Number 16, excuse me, number 16, how will the other chiropractic offices be marketed? Well, there'll be simple direct mail to increase their awareness. Everything will be to push them to an opt-in website, whether it's direct mail, phone calls, okay? Everything's going to be geared to push them to an opt-in video website presentation. I do the presentation. Remember, I do all the marketing. I just need assistance with the administration. That's it. So the directors and the affiliates do no marketing. I do. I create all the business. So the phone calls, and essentially what we do is we get them to see the presentation. The presentation is what sells the other chiropractors to be involved, and it's an automated presentation. And every now and then, I'll just do a live presentation. When people have further questions or this or that, then I'll just get on and do a live presentation for the chiropractors, the affiliate chiropractors, to get them on board. So remember, we're talking about a clinic director for our county, and then the satellite offices that we send referrals to from the attorneys are the affiliates. That's how we're naming them and separating out the differences. But that's essentially what happens is we'll do it live. And also I'm willing to go to state organizations, either live or online, live streaming, and do the presentations live to the state organizations when they have their monthly meetings or even their annual meetings. But the local county director is the one that'll help set it all up with the contacts and all that. And then I'll do it. So if you want to create a lot of business, that's the fastest way to create a lot of business fast, with either getting chiropractors on board or the attorneys on board. So who's responsible for the administrative cost? The county director, since they benefit the most. So what administrative costs can I think of right now that you may have? The only thing I can think of is maybe direct mail to the county, but you're talking about, how many chiropractors are in your county. And essentially it's a jumbo postcard. And again, the only reason we're doing that is to push them to go into sign up for the presentation and capture their contact information so they can go into an autoresponder for the follow-up of the marketing. That's how all that works, okay? That's all we want to do is push them to the presentation. So that's the only real cost. And then if you have staff members that might help you, things like get the names and numbers and addresses of all the personal injury attorneys in the county. Well, that's something easy one of your staff members can do. Help set up the time and date for a live presentation. See, that's very easy to do. Help set up a live presentation, maybe to your local trial lawyers association. See, those are administrative functions. And then I come in and I do them. Most of them are live or it's automated video. Okay. But that's kind of the simplicity of how this works. All right, so that's number 17. Let's go to number 18 here. Number 18 is what cost. So we talked about that already. They're basically postcard, direct mail. There's no cost with phone calls. I mean, literally, you can have one of your staff members kind of be an assistant and help with the administrative function. And by the way, that's what we do. That's what I teach in my chiropractic personal injury marketing program. We don't hire marketing, we just have a staff member help with some of the administrative functions because it's so simple and easy. And we'll give them a bonus for helping out, for the extra effort. So, but as far as any cost, the only cost that I can actually see is just if we do any direct mail to the chiropractors or the attorneys to move, to get them into the presentation. That's the only thing I can think of. Okay, what percent of each referral for the offices would I receive? Well, each satellite office the county director signs up would receive 50% of the 30% for all referral collections. So what am I charging for the non-directors? So I already went over the fee for the directors. It's a flat fee, $397 a month. What is the referral percent that we're taking for the other offices? 30%. We're taking 30%. So I can tell you, I say this to chiropractors all the time. You can have 70% of something, or you can have 100% of nothing. Your choice. So typically what we're looking at there is an average case might be $3,000. 30% would be $900. So all these chiropractors that are signing up to be affiliates are essentially making $2,100 where they never would have made it before. That's per case. So the $900 is split 50-50, $450. So in that one case, the clinic director would get $450 per case. And that's based on a $3,000 case average. So that gives you an idea of an example. And then you can do the math on your own. How many referrals can we create for your office? What's your case average? How many satellite offices might there be? How many referrals might there be for all the attorneys that we get involved for the satellite offices? Multiply that times an average. You can kind of do the math on your own and figure this out. But this easily goes over $1 million. That's what this does. We go over $1 million just with our attorney referrals, not even dealing with satellites. So is it legal to receive a referral fee? So this is a common question that I get. Under a marketing management agreement, the fee agreement, yes. This is under a marketing management agreement. This is not paid to play. This is not a fee for a referral. In other words, all of these satellite offices have certain responsibilities. That's what they're paying for. So they're paying a percentage of their business to do X, Y, Z with their responsibilities, not the referral. So it's marketing and management is what they're paying for, not the referral. It can seem like it's semantics to you, and it may be to you, but I'm talking from a legal perspective. That's how that is. How do I know that? I've already done this and been tested in the court of law and won and taken a percentage of fees for business. Okay, that's how I know this. So a direct payment for a referral, no, that's not legal. A percentage of payment based on collections with specific duties. Yes, you're getting paid for services, not for the referrals. And so we outline to these satellite offices, these are the services that we do, and we're getting paid this for these services. Okay, it's for these services. All right, that seems to be always a big question with some people. So what's the personal injury attorney marketing? Marketing for the attorneys. Well, live personal injury attorney educational sales presentations. And right now, I would schedule them probably every 4 months. You know, in the beginning, I may do one a month, but generally speaking, I would do one. Now, these are the presentations that I did before COVID in the hotels. And how they work, they'd be on a Thursday night. It'd be for like 2 hours to 3 hours. They would be continuing education associated with the presentation, and it would be live streamed. So I would be doing it live here from my office, and it would go. Now, the good news also that makes this more credible is the live stream goes through your website. And I'll get to that in just a second, but that creates a tremendous amount of credibility. So everything is marketed through your website. That's why you get credit and authority for being the local 911 car injury doctor. So I'll touch on that a little more in just a second. So live personal injury educational sales presentations. Generally, it'd be every 4 months. But if we had, as an example, if I had a doctor, clinic director or two say, hey, I've got 20 attorneys here, or 30 attorneys, or if I had 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 directors go, I got 2 or 3 attorneys, we'll put them all together, and maybe it's 20 or 30 attorneys, boom, we'll pull the trigger and do it. In other words, we're in this to create business. I'm giving the outline, but we're in it to create business. If we're going to generate the business, we're going to generate it, and we're going to support it. So that's not hard and fast. We'll definitely do more as needed, but we'll definitely do some. And when we do these, by the way, every 4 months, they're great opportunities again to market, to push more of your county attorneys there, and to reinforce the existing attorneys you're dealing with. So also, I'm doing live streaming educational sales weekly. Every week, and again, this comes through your website. In other words, I give you a code. I'm going to simplify this, but I give you the content for the page and the code for the live streaming. You create a page on your website, you put the code in there, and that's how it works. And then the link to that page is what is marketed to all of the attorneys in the county. So it's coming from your website, a page on your website. And then I do all the selling through the live streaming, and you are the one that your website and you is what they're all coming through. And so you're the local 911 car injury provider. That's how you get right into the middle of all the business. So I do live streaming educational sales weekly. So it's real short. It's only 20 minutes every week. But what's that? The reason for that is to reinforce the sales, number one. Number two, it's an opportunity to bring more attorneys into the system with marketing. Number three is it constantly reinforces and sells the message. And I cover a different topic. Every week I cover one topic in personal injury, and I drill down. I go into great detail. We only do it for about 20 minutes, so it's real easy for the attorneys to watch live. And by the way, they can ask questions live about if they are a 911 car injury doctor attorney referring attorney. They're allowed to ask questions live for free. In other words, they have an expert consultant that they can ask about their cases for free. That's huge. So the other thing that happens, if they don't catch it live, no big deal, it's recorded. So every week they get the recording in the video newsletter. That's how that works. So it's constant and regular support, and most important, reinforcement. So it not only helps sell, it reinforces what you're selling to make it bigger and deeper and stronger. That's why that's important. Remember, I told you the follow-up increases the business over 50%. So that's the live streaming educational sales. And I call that the video newsletter also. And by the way, when they first sign on that, they get the pre-recorded educational sales presentation. So they're sold immediately as soon as they sign up on that. Opt-in market for Trial Lawyers Association. We target the Trial Lawyers Association. And because those are the players in your county, it's the Trial Lawyers Association that are players. They're the ones that are getting all the business and not afraid to go to court. And we have a direct marketing system for them, whether it's doing live presentations for your county Trial Lawyers Association. That is a huge one. For the county director to line up with the Trial Lawyers Association of that county, for me to come in on a live stream and me to do the live presentation. That is huge. You're right in where the massive amount of business is. So opt-in, and there's many ways of going after the trial lawyers. That's the best way. Another way is marketing to drive them to the opt-in. Another way is calling them direct mail to the opt-in. So, and I cover this specifically, as we go into it. So it has direct mail to the opt-in, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Live streaming or live presentations in the county association. So that's how that works. So tremendous opportunity here to literally wrap up your county and become the name brand for the county. And of course, it helps even more when there's multiple offices in the county. Like I did, when I had 9 offices in Louisville, Kentucky, it was as simple as calling that's when you do and can go after the big law firms. And the phone call went like this. It went to this with neurosurgeons, orthopedic surgeons, and personal injury attorneys in all the big offices. And the phone call sounded like this. Ring, ring. Hey, this is so-and-so from Dr. So-and-so's office. We have 9 offices in the metro Louisville area. We see over 30,000 patient visits a year. Dr. So-and-so would like to introduce his doctors to your attorneys. Would that be possible? And right about then, you hear the phone drop, and they're like, you tell me when. You tell me when and where. And that's how it worked. When you have multiple offices, you create authority. Okay, so personal injury marketing attorneys. Okay, we got personal injury marketing for attorneys live. First, we talked about all this. Okay. All right, so that gives you an idea of all the marketing with the personal injury attorneys to get them on board. Now, what's the marketing for the affiliate chiropractors? Is that something you have to do? No, you just have to be the administrator to help facilitate it. The single best way we're doing it is I'm going to create the pre-recorded sales presentation explaining how it all works. And then it'll be with also follow-up videos. That's the number one way. Then also to do live presentations. We can do direct mail to push them to sign up, and periodic live presentations as needed. But the best way, to be honest with you, is just contact all the doctors and then invite them to a live presentation, and then I do a live presentation and sell them. That's the absolute best way to get a lot of other offices in your county on board in 24 hours. So literally, between signing up and doing one of these presentations for multiple offices in your county, you could, you can use your imagination. You could have 3, 6, 9 offices, in 24 hours. And now you're a power player. When you have let's say you have 7 9/11 car injury doctors throughout your county, you're now a power player. And remember, these attorneys want continuity. They would rather deal with one person that has the same market or the same documentation and been trained in everything than deal with 20 different Tom, Dick, and Harrys. And then you already know every chiropractor has his own documentation system. None of them are the same. Well, they are in our system because they have to follow my checklist. So that's what ensures consistency And also it ensures that what I said in the educational sales presentation will happen. The doctors have to follow the documentation checklist to make sure they get all the documentation that's needed to support that attorney. And same with the narrative report. They have to follow the narrative report format because that's the winning formula of the narrative report. And the same with depositions and trial. You have to follow that. It's a formula. It's a winning formula. And by the way, that's what attorneys like. They like that consistency. First, they're sold on it, and then they go, you mean I'm going to get this from every office in every major city in my county, and I'm going to have that kind of consistency? That's what happens. Okay. So marketing for affiliate chiropractors in the county, we already talked about how that would happen. Okay. So that's how all this business is created. And by the way, we've already done this. This is not new. We've just done it on an individual basis. Now we're just taking the whole system and leveraging it over the internet. But this is not new. We've sold, and that, I did 7 presentations that one year, and we signed up 98% of those attorneys for their referrals. But unfortunately, we didn't have offices for a lot of the areas where the attorneys had clients, and that's why this is happening. So do we know how to sell attorneys? Hell yeah. Do we know how to document personal injury? Hell yeah. Do we know how to get way more business than we physically can handle? Hell yeah. Well, now we're leveraging it. We need suppliers. We need doctors that can process the business. That's the problem we have. We don't have problems getting business. I own 77 offices in 20 states. I don't have problems getting business. We have problems having offices to process the business. That's what this is about. Okay, responsibilities for the 9/11 car injury doctors. These are some of the responsibilities. Document personal injury. In other words, you can't just wing it. You can't just do whatever the hell you want to do. There's some things you can't do in personal injury. And I'll just tell you right now, you can't be promoting subluxation because no attorney wants a doctor talking about subluxations in the trial box. You'll destroy the case. That destroys credibility. So, our cases are based on neuroskeletal musculo injuries. They're based on the treatments based on the science of the 3 phases of healing. It's all science-based. In other words, it's everything that you can say to an 8th grade educated juror and not scare the hell out of them by talking about subluxations and how you can help cure cancer, because that's what happens. And by the way, that's that's the main reasons why attorneys don't refer to chiropractors, is because number one, they don't know what you do because they're confused with this whole subluxation thing, and they want no part of that when it comes to a jury. They want no part of that. It's a losing proposition to go in there and say, yeah, this one thing cures everything in the world. So anyway, responsibilities. Document the personal injury cases based on the 9/11 car injury doctor's checklist. I have a checklist. All you do is just follow the checklist. If you don't know how to document some of them, we teach you how to document it live or with videos. Use the 9/11 car injury doctor narrative report system. I have a fantastic report. My report system, narrative report, is exactly how to win a case in court. We just take the information and put it on paper, and we call it a narrative report. But that is the case on paper. That's what the narrative report is. Again, you just follow the system. We have the outline. You just follow. It's like paint by numbers. If you don't know a particular aspect of it, and you won't, then we train it in. We train it in with video training, and we train it in with live training. Okay. And I will guarantee you, doctors who, it doesn't matter how much you've been doing personal injury, I will guarantee you there will be a percentage you won't know of my documentation or narrative report or trial testimony. I will guarantee that. I've done this too long. Okay, so the responsibilities: use the CART 911 card narrative report system, trained in how to give the 911 car injury doctor deposition or trial testimony. See, the reason you have to be able to do that is because that's what I'm selling them on. I'm selling them on my documentation, my narrative report, my deposition trial testimony. That's what we're selling them on. So we can't sell them on that, then you not do it. Uphold the 8 service factors when dealing with attorneys. There's 8 major service factors you have to uphold. We cover that, such as, have a narrative report over to them within 3 weeks. Well, that's an important service factor. Okay. Another one is to be able to see the patient that day. Okay, that's a service factor. Another one is to be able to provide transportation. Well, that's easy because of Uber. Okay, so there's service factors that attorneys do want for their patients. Participate and support the network. Of course, you'd be stupid to not participate and support a network that's creating a large section of revenue for you. Honor non-compete clauses of existing 911 car injury doctors. So all the participants will have their non-compete clauses. We're going to protect people. We're not going to let one doctor go, oh, I see another doctor is getting a lot of referrals, I'm going to open an office in his area. No, you can't do that under this agreement unless the doctor in that area becomes a non-member. Just like we would protect your area. Whoever becomes a 911 doctor will not be able to open an office in your area because they see you're making a ton of money. We got to do these things. Okay, so participate, we talked about that. Honor the non-compete clauses, and there will be. The non-compete areas are basically your city or zip code. If your city's too big, like Dallas and Miami, you don't get that, then I basically determine it for you. And now we're looking at zip codes. But just so you know, most chiropractors think they have like a 100-mile radius of draw. Just so you know, the inner city office, 80% of the business comes from 1 mile. A suburb, 80% of the business comes from 2.5 miles. Suburb, 2.5 miles. A rural area, 80% of the business comes from 7 miles, just so you know. Okay, so cost for the 911 car injury doctor satellite practice for network support and referrals. So what is the cost for the affiliate, not the director, but the affiliate offices? Well, they have to have some skin in the game. So what I'm looking at here, and this could be modified or adjusted, but here's the basics: is there has to be some skin in the game, but they get the money back for participating. That's the concept. So here, let's go through some of these. So a 997 deposit to be refunded after the first 3 cases are completed. Well, when you give a 997 deposit, it makes you pay attention and listen and move forward. But we're going to give the money back as soon as that office has processed 3 cases. Okay. The only reason for the money is to get people committed. That's the reason for the money. When people try to get on board to do it for free, they won't do anything. The monthly fee is $197 and is to be refunded, and we refund that. You don't get any referrals, it's refunded. So the bottom line is it doesn't cost anything if you just participate and process, 3 or more clients, personal injury cases, and because that's what we're interested in. We're interested in you processing cases. Okay, I'm not going to get rich on your $197 monthly fee. So 30% of all personal injury referrals for services collected. So we do collect 30% of the personal injury referral sources. So the goal is to get a commitment to some degree as the referrals kick in, and essentially refund your money. So to where it's essentially nothing. So initially we want $1,000 deposit, because also I have to train you in the checklist. So I've got to give you my documentation, narrative system, deposition, and trial system. Well, you're not going to get it for free. But you do get it for free as soon as you as soon as the satellite office processes 3 personal injury cases. Because remember, we get 30% of those 3 cases, so we're okay with that. So essentially, you get the whole system for free just by participating. That's how it works. But we have to have some commitment in the beginning. We have to have somebody who's willing to learn the system, learn the checklist, do the narrative report right. Okay, we have to have somebody willing to do that. And if you're not willing to do it, and the average person, soft tissue injury cases, at the lowest end, there's usually $2,500 a month. 3,000 is pretty easy. Most of them are $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000, but let's say $3,000. If you're not willing to do that for $2,100 per case for 2, 3, 4, or 5 cases a month, then you really shouldn't be involved, to be honest with you. So that's some of the concepts behind. It's basically commitment. It's servicing and commitment, and it's the big picture. It's about the big picture. Moving on, see an extra 4 or 5 or 10 extra PI cases a month that you wouldn't have received in the first place. And instead of being in your office, seeing 100 visits a week, twiddling your thumbs on Facebook, actually see patients, make money for your family, make money to send your kids to private school. Okay, so what are some frequently asked questions? I put in here what I would assume are some common questions. So how will you know if the referral was from your marketing? Well, all the marketing attorneys will be required to refer through the network to receive the network benefits. That's one way we're going to know. What are the attorney network's benefits? Some of them are for free consultation for their cases. That's going to be big after they learn about us. Paid yearly continuing education. We'll pay for their continuing education because they're going to sit in front of us and we're going to sell them. So yeah, I'll pay for their yearly continuing education to sell them to get their business. Sure. Cross-referring doctors, well, they're going to get feedback. They're going to get referrals back from this whole network of chiropractors. Free continuing education and training on how to stop low ball offers, narrative reports, depositions, and trial testimony. So they're going to be better through the education. We'll do a limited power of attorney signature with the satellite offices with the percentages. In other words, we'll be able to go in and look. We're not just going to trust you. We're going to be able to legally go in and look. We'll have a fine. I put a $10,000 fine for any referral violations. There's always got to be a fine for somebody trying to screw you over. So, if you're not trying to screw somebody over, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. And removal from the network. So, there's the negative parts of if you participate and you don't want to, you want to hide referrals and you don't want to make the payments, you just don't need to be in the system, to be honest with you. You just need to go your own way. Number 2, will there be a non-compete agreements? Yeah, I already talked about that. It's going to be based on your city, depending on how big it is, or your zip code. I'll determine and I'll just tell you how we'll figure that out. We'll do a geographic radius of draw of your last 50 or 100 patient visits. I'll take a look at it and I'll tell you what the psychographic barriers are and your geographic radius of draw. And that's what it'll be, because that's reality. Most chiropractors, you ask them, how far you get patients? They go, 20 miles. Because they had their uncle. I had one patient who came in from California. I get patients from California, and they're in the Midwest. Yeah, because they had one patient who came in to visit their sister in your hometown, and while they were there, they came to see you. So the chiropractor goes, yeah, I get patients from California. No, you don't. Will my practice be protected? Yes. If you're in the network, you will get the same protection from every other chiropractor in your county. Yeah. I can only protect you with the doctors in my network that have to sign the same non-compete agreement. So it's mutual respect. Is there a lifetime obligation? Is there a time obligation, not a lifetime? Yeah, there's 1 year. 1 year. We're not going to give you all this business and all this, and then you just kind of do your own thing and take everything. So is there a time obligation? I mean, it takes a year just to get in and get the ball rolling and up and going and all that kind of stuff. You can't just jump in and 60 days later go, oh, boo me. You got, remember, it takes 70% of the energy to get something up and going, only 30% to keep it going. All right, so that's number 4. Number 5, how will you know what referrals I've received if they were from you or from my referral? Again, all referrals from the attorneys must go through the 911 Car Injury Doctor Network. That's how we're going to know. And they must sign a limited power of attorney to view your referral patients and compensation cases. Okay? Again, if you have counter intentions, this is not for you. What if I do not pay? Well, agreeing in the beginning, I talk about a $10,000 fine for non-payment within 90 days of getting paid. I'm talking about the satellite offices. If they get the money in and they don't pay, well, there's a fine for that, as well as there should be. Services and payments will eventually go through a third-party service. So eventually what we're doing is we're going to run the referrals through the network, through the attorneys, but we're also going to run the billing through eventually. So we can control all that and stop, the lying and the cheating and the stealing. So will I lose my non-compete radius clause if I leave the 911 Car Injury Doctor Network? Yeah. At which time we will be allowed to sign another doctor, another office in your town with that geographic, or open an office there. So as long as there's a satellite office that's a member, they're protected. As soon as they're not a member, we can open an office there, or we can get another office in that city that wants to be a 911 doctor. Remember, we're interested in supporting the patients and the attorneys. That's what we're interested in. Okay, so there you have it. That's essentially, hopefully I've covered most of the, the outline of how it all works and the compensation. But you can run the numbers. You can run the numbers. We get clients when we do personal injury. Again, we've already have clients increase their business $500,000, $1 million. The problem, again, that we have is not knowing how to sell attorneys or patients. The problem we have is having providers to treat the patients and to do it right. In other words, give a very good service to these attorneys, a very good service. And it's all in a checklist. You just got to follow the checklist. And if you don't know parts of the checklist, you do have to learn them. And we will teach it via video or live presentation. So that is essentially it in a nutshell of basically how to build your personal injury part of your practice. And by the way, you could just build that part of your practice. This isn't all consuming necessarily personal injury practices. I never recommend 100% personal injury, but definitely grow that part of your practice. That is what we do recommend. So it's how to build the personal injury part of your practice, $1 million, and receive a percentage of all the personal injury attorney referrals in your county. So again, you can do the math. If you're getting 5, 7, or 10 PI cases a month, times your case average. If you were getting 10 a month and your case average was 3,000, so that's 3 times 10. What is that? 30,000. Is that 30? 3 times 10? 30,000. That's more than 30,000. But anyway, you can kind of do the math based on case averages, number of cases that you would probably get, as well as looking at, okay, well, how many, so let's just do the math real quick. So let's say we have 10 PI cases times $3,000 a case times 12 months. So $360,000 just right there at a 3,000 case average with only 10 clients. So basically, if you're getting 4,000 or more, you get 15 to 20 clients a month. You've just increased your business $1 million a year. And then you look at the surrounding offices. You go, how many offices do I have in the surrounding area? Let's say you get 4, and let's say you only get 2 times 450 per office. So let's say there's 4 offices times two, only, let's say there's only 2 referrals per month, times that, times 450, times 12. So you can just do the math. Look at, do your numbers. What are your case averages, personal injury case averages? And whatever yours are in the county, that's pretty much what the other offices would be in the county too. But there you have it. This is the system. It's the 911 car injury doctor system. It is a system. It's a documentation system. It's a narrative report system. It's a trial, deposition and trial system that you have to know to deliver good, excellent service. And then it's a marketing system, and it's all based on educational sales. And I explain the difference between that and advertising and publicity, because it is only educational sales that creates that kind of business that I just did last year. Advertising doesn't work, and neither does publicity. And the main reason is they're not looking for a chiropractor to deal with their cases. But it works real well when you do educational sales. And there's tremendous opportunity because 87% of the car injuries are soft tissue injury. 2% of the people of the population are in car injuries, more if you're in a rural urban area versus rural. So you can just do the take your population or your geographic radius of draw, multiply it times 2%. That's how many car injuries are in a year. Divide that by 12. That's how many are a month. Well, do that for the county. Now do it for the county, not just your geographic radius of draw. And you'll start to see there's way more business than you physically can handle. Most chiropractors don't know how to create, they don't know the marketing, they don't know educational sales, whether it's for patients or attorneys, to create the business. But that is exactly how I opened 77 offices in 20 states, is we knew educational sales. We knew how to create the business. So there you have it. If you have any other questions about that, you can just shoot me an email, text, or give me a call, and for further follow-up, okay? But we're starting, as a matter of fact, it's already started. The live streaming, everything's already being set up. So this whole program's already started, okay? So just reach out to me if you're interested in participating, whether you want to be an affiliate doctor or a director for your county. Either email me, text me, or phone me. My phone number is 813-480-1693. It's also on the website, chiropracticpersonalinjurymarketing.com. And you can text me or you can email me, and my email is paulhollern@gmail.com.